Okay, so the story is that we are getting divorced because of our decision. It's my best friend. I still love her to death. Like, we still got a child together. We still gonna be hanging out. I'm probably
all the
gonna see
time.
her.
Y'all have a great day.
She was a TikTok star known for spreading love and positivity until Amber Holt took her own life. Or did she?
It was not a suicide. I didn't have any doubt in my mind.
Her grieving mother turns detective, determined to prove it.
How would she put a bag over her head with no fingerprints?
On the morning of July 28th, 2023, April Holt, a 29-year-old mother of two and a beloved TikTok influencer, was found unresponsive in her bathroom, a plastic bag tightly taped over her head. The scene she left behind would haunt those who loved her, but it would also spark a series of events that would unravel an unsettling truth. What first appeared to be a tragic suicide soon began to raise questions that no one could ignore. How could a woman so full of life who shared positivity and love
It gained her popularity.
with her 200,000 followers take her own life?
Manifestation goals. Let's grow. Step 1, visualize what you want. If you cannot visualize yourself experiencing that thing or having that thing, then it's not for you and it's not going to manifest. But if you can see it in your head, as they say, you can hold it in your hand.
What truly happened in that bathroom? As the investigation unfolded, what the authorities initially dismissed as a suicide started to look more like a well-concealed murder. For her mother, Jamie, the battle for justice was just beginning, and the answers she sought would push her to confront difficult truths. Who really was responsible for April's death? And why were so many key details overlooked?
It was not a suicide. I didn't have any doubt in my mind. I talked to her an hour and a half before. She texted me an hour and a half before she was found dead. Perfectly fine. I texted her the night before. Perfectly fine. Nothing led to signs of suicide.
As I dug deeper into April's life, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than what we were being told. April's social media presence painted a picture of perfection. A loving mother of two, a devoted wife, and a thriving entrepreneur.
Don't start a business if you like being sane.
Her posts were filled with motivational messages and happy family moments.
Boy needs a little love. If he put it down, I'ma pick it up.
My pastor taught me this, and it's blessed my life. The way you think affects the way you feel. The way you feel affects what you do, and what you do affects the way you think. It's a triangle. It's a continuous motion. So when I think that I'm nothing, I feel like I'm nothing, and I act like I'm nothing. It's a continuous cycle. So if you don't break that cycle, you are just going to stay in that same thing over and over.
But as I uncovered more about her relationship with Donovan, her husband, a different picture began to form. Behind the polished posts and smiling photos, there were cracks, signs of struggle that nobody had noticed.
What do you think the secret to our relationship has been? Oh no, that's the question. It's
I'm
rolling.
supposed to answer right now.
Yeah.
Being best friends. That came first. If we weren't friends,
You're so out of breath.
I am out of breath. But honestly, if we weren't friends first, it wouldn't have lasted. Like, that's been the base of the whole relationship. Being friends is important.
He really is like my bestest friend ever.
The bestest.
The best friend I could ever ask for. And I married him.
I'm in like a depressed state. Like, I'm just overwhelmed, and I know that like I'm manifesting more negative experiences on myself with how I've been, so I have to get out of this funk. So I'm going to literally fake it till I make it. And I've done this before. Like, this isn't the first time. I'm not saying like ignore your problems. I definitely like sat in my depression for some days before deciding that like, bitch, you gotta get out of this. Like, something's gotta happen, something's gotta shake.
April had confided in her mother about wanting to divorce Donovan just weeks before her death.
My daughter had requested a divorce 2 weeks prior.
It wasn't the first time she had considered leaving him, but this time it felt different.
This time she was not planning on going back to him.
Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama. Maybe I am. Am I the villain? I don't think I'm the villain.
The relationship between April and Donovan was always on edge. Throughout the years that they were together, the 7 years that they were together, I guess it's 8 almost, they were always on and off in a relationship. Donovan had a obsession with April, and even if she tried to leave, he would often sleep outside of her apartment or sleep in her car if it was unlocked. He just had an obsession with her, and there was a lot of red flags throughout this entire time, just the manipulation that would go on of him pulling her away from her family or the things that she loved and just keeping her from all of us. It was kind of like he always had something for her to do or someplace for her to be if we wanted her by us. Even when it came to her daughter, Serenity, he would pull her away from us. He told Serenity once that she couldn't call him dad. There were so many red flags in that aspect. And then with the financial state, it was always a lie about bills being paid that weren't. And then April had to play catch up to cover the bills that he said he paid. So there was always some kind of tension going on. And when they'd walk in a room, you could feel it.
Story time. But I couldn't do it without him because I feel like it's wrong to only put out one side.
Okay, so the story is that we are getting divorced because it was our decision. It's my best friend. I still love her to death. Like, we still got a child together. We still gonna be hanging out. I'm probably gonna see her most days of the week. But at the end of the day, we got shit to do. That's it. You feel me? She has a path to go. I got a path to go. But our paths are parallel, and we always gonna be next to each other. Yeah. And who's to say what's gonna happen in the future? All that we know is right now. Right now, it's the best. I mean, real talk, it's the best decision for both of us. For her to do what she needs to do, for me to do what I need to do. So
we can grow and heal and
that's it.
Elevate. No hard feelings. This is not a messy divorce or anything like that. We don't do that. This is, like I said, like he said, this is my best friend at the end of the day. He has been before the relationship, before the marriage, before the kid. So nothing's gonna change that. So
like, look at her, bro. Like, I would never lose this forever. For real. And look.
So we're good, y'all. We're
for real
good.
though, like for real.
Promise y'all.
That's it.
April was ready to walk away, ready to take control of her life. But tragically, she never had the chance. Before we get too deep, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you find value in these discussions.
My toxic trait is that I never mean to hurt them. I really mean to fall in love. I take the time out to learn them. And I speak from my heart. I love with intention, so it ain't no way that they don't feel me. But my capacity to love is the best thing I got, so that's all I show. Because who could love the real me? And my toxic trait is that they hurt more than they hurt me when I finally say I'm leaving. And when I'm done, I really mean it.
I continued to trace the events leading up to that fateful morning. To the outside world, everything seemed perfect. April's family life was on display for all to see. And she had built an empire around her positivity.
Breaking down isn't a bad thing. Sometimes breaking down is God's way of saying, pause. You did too much. You have too much on you. And I'm letting you know this. So take some things off.
But to Jamie, those perfect photos masked the emotional distance between April and Donovan.
Very seldom did they come in both happy. There was always something going on and you could question it.
April had been distant, telling Jamie she was serious about the divorce.
I knew that April was unhappy. I knew that she requested a divorce.
She was ready for change, and Donovan, well, he wasn't ready to let go. On the morning of July 28th, things finally boiled over. April and Donovan had a heated argument, one intense enough for their son, Denzel, to overhear.
Tell me how his dad was in the bathroom with his mom that morning and that they were fighting. And he looked under the door and he said they were both standing. And then they were fighting some more and he looked back under the door and he said he saw his mom on the ground.
That wasn't just an ordinary fight. It was the kind of confrontation that left a mark. Denzel didn't know the details of the fight, but he would never forget what happened next.
April and Donovan had a huge fight. They weren't seeing eye to eye on some things, and after going back and forth with each other, Donovan left the argument to feed their son. 2 hours later, Donovan instructed their 7-year-old son to check on his mom.
What he found in the bathroom was beyond comprehension. April, the woman who had always been there for him, was lying lifeless on the bathroom floor. The plastic bag taped over her head made it clear this wasn't an accident. Denzel's innocent mind couldn't grasp the horror he had just witnessed. Donovan's frantic phone call to Jamie would soon follow. He told her April had been found unconscious in the bathroom, but something about his reaction didn't feel right. When Jamie arrived at the hospital, she immediately noticed that Donovan didn't seem devastated, as any grieving husband should. His calm demeanor felt off, almost too calm. Was he hiding something? Or was this a man who knew exactly what had happened?
The phone rang, and it was Donovan, and he said he was upset, kind of like in a panic upset. He's like, we found April, she wasn't breathing, and so she's in the ambulance on the way to the hospital.
The unsettling calmness raised more questions than it answered. As Jamie processed the scene in the hospital and pieced together the events of the morning, her suspicions grew.
I just had a feeling in my gut that something was wrong. And when I arrived at this hospital to find that she was on life support, I was in utter shock. I didn't have any clue that this was the extent of the injury that had taken place. I knew then, though, that something wasn't right. This was not adding up.
April's body revealed signs of trauma that couldn't be ignored. Bruises on her neck, marks on her body, and a gash on her inner thigh.
Extremely angry when I got the report, my daughter's autopsy. It tells you that the type of death was suspected suicide. First of all, in the first page it says that she had blunt force trauma. Now we're seeing that she's got bruises all over her body. Summary of case, and that's the page that I'm on. It says the summary of case, the descendant had a reported past medical history of alcohol and marijuana abuse. The detective decided to make this statement up completely on his own.
Despite these obvious injuries, the authorities ruled her death a suicide.
All of the evidence was sitting right there, and the cops refused to look at it. They still just ruled it as a suicide.
But for Jamie, that answer didn't sit right. She knew something wasn't adding up, so she didn't stop. Jamie tirelessly fought to have the case reopened. She pushed for answers, gathering every shred of evidence and demanding the truth.
Jamie immediately questioned the suicide ruling, going from grieving mom to detective. She headed straight to the Metro Police Department headquarters demanding answers.
And we sat down with the DA and the investigators, and we read over her autopsy, and I questioned them. They said they didn't see any signs of trauma. And I said, well, her body had bruising on her neck, her wrists, her ankles, her thigh had a cut and a big bruise on it. And they said, we didn't see those. That might have been from the EMTs. And they just disregarded it.
But Jamie wasn't about to accept simply overlooking how Donovan was the last person to see her alive. And it would take her own investigative break when she pulled this 47-page report on April's death from the Community Review Board. In it, details of the evidence on the bag that caused April to suffocate.
There was only his fingerprints. None of her fingerprints were on the bag or the tape. How would she put a bag over her head with no fingerprints?
As more details came to light, like the fingerprints found on the plastic bag and duct tape, it became clear that this was no suicide. This was murder. And the man who had shared so much of his life with April might have been the one who took it. Jamie's heart broke, not only for her daughter, but for her grandson, who would carry that memory with him forever. But as painful as that moment was, Jamie had to confront the terrifying possibility that the person responsible for April's death was the same man who had once promised to love and protect her, Donovan. She wasn't going to let the investigation fade away. She fought to have the case reopened, determined to find the truth. And finally, the breakthrough came. Jamie confronted Donovan directly, armed with the evidence she had gathered.
That is when I confronted him and he confessed to me. It wasn't until about 3:30 that afternoon when he called me on FaceTime through Facebook, and he first asked me if anybody was around me, and I explained to him no, nobody was around me. I had known that something was up that day when he had said he wanted to talk to me, because he never wanted to talk to me. And so I had kept Serenity's phone with me for recording in case I needed to. I said, you can tell me the truth, or next Thursday I'm meeting with the cold case department and I'm having the case reopened.
As Donovan FaceTimed from San Antonio, where he was living, Jamie secretly recorded a bombshell conversation.
He told me that morning that he and April were having sexual intercourse and that he choked her. And that when he noticed she wasn't breathing, he didn't know what to do. So he freaked out and he said he drug her to the shower and he put a bag over her head and tape around her neck. And then he went into the living room and he ate lunch.
Armed with her own recorded confession, she went back to investigators.
The Metro Police Department flew out and he confessed to them at his apartment the exact same thing that he told me. So they finally arrested him almost 2 months after confession.
Donovan Holt is now behind bars, charged with reckless homicide and awaiting trial.
All of the evidence was sitting right there, and the cops refused to look at it. They still just ruled it as a suicide.
Jamie looks over the documents that helped her on her journey for justice. The autopsy has been amended. The manner of death officially changed from suicide to homicide.
Hey guys, so Jamie Dickerson here, mother of April Holt. I made a post earlier letting you guys know that her autopsy has been changed from a suicide to a homicide. I also want to update you that there has been an arrest. The detective called me and did tell me that Donovan Holt has been arrested in the state of Texas for the homicide of April Holt. He is being transported back to Tennessee.
He's charged with reckless homicide, false reporting, and tampering with evidence.
I feel like they've failed my family. I have had to fight at the same time as grieve my daughter.
There were so many moments that could have changed the outcome if only they had been noticed sooner. The fingerprints on the plastic bag and tape were the key pieces of evidence that had been overlooked. Had they been investigated from the start, April's death might not have been misclassified as a suicide.
I want the police held accountable somehow for not investigating properly.
For Jamie, the battle for justice wasn't just about bringing her daughter's killer to justice. It was about reclaiming the dignity and truth that had been taken from her family. The emotional toll of losing her daughter is one she will carry for the rest of her life. But at least now, she has justice. The case may have closed, but the lessons are far from finished. We all have to ask ourselves, how often do we look beyond the surface? How often do we question the stories we're told? April's story is one that demands we look deeper, to challenge the narratives, and to never accept things at face value. Thank you for joining me in this investigation. Keep your eyes open, stay aware, and never stop asking questions. Because in the end, the truth matters more than anything. I hope these stories help you recognize the warning signs and encourage you to seek help or offer support before it's too late. I'll see you in the next episode on Crime of Passion. Thank you for watching.
I would have continued to fight for her until my last breath, because that is what a mother's love will do for her children. And I miss her every second of every day, and so do her children. And just knowing that there is justice for her is a huge relief. And so please continue to just keep our family in your prayers. The heartache and grief never goes away, and I will keep you updated on any other case developments that will be coming. All right, guys, so I just wanted to let you guys know there has been an arrest for the homicide of my daughter.